of brotherly love. Joel Embiid is a GOAT. Embiid, oh my goodness!
No hesitation right now for Joel.
You can see he's a little fatigued, but he's playing well for us.
How about the shooting all of a sudden? Both teams waking up.
Good job, boy.
Maxey again!
You gotta love Joel Embiid in front of the home crowd.
I'm glad that we got the win.
Joel Embiid returned for the Sixers, part of a balanced scoring attack that got them back into their series with the Heat. Philly turned up the defense, beat the Heat 99-79. Miami up 2-1 now. Let's bring in Jalen Rose now to discuss that Philly defense. Jalen, how were they so effective against Miami in Game 3?
They played desperate. They didn't want to go down 0-3. And you know what highlighted that? The return of their big fella, Joel Embiid, playing through a bad thumb, overcoming concussion protocol, playing with the mask because he has an eye injury. When the other 14 guys see him suit up, you have to be invested. And that's what he was. And he did a terrific job of slowing down Bam Adebayo, who had his way the first couple of games, not so much in Game 3.
All right, Game 3 coming up for the Grizzlies and the Warriors from San Francisco on Saturday. Steve Kerr has hinted about throwing double teams at Ja Morant, trying to find something to slow him down. What do you expect to see from them?
I expect him to do a lot of double teaming of Ja Morant, and rightfully so. He had 47 points in the previous game and was spectacular. Desmond Bane has dealt with injury, struggled offensively. They'll be without Dillon Brooks. So if you're the Golden State Warriors, you got to take the ball out of Ja's hands, force somebody else to beat you. And in return, when you get to your home floor, you need your Splash Brothers to be more than a drizzle. In particular, Klay Thompson, who's basically struggled from the floor the first couple of games. I think Jordan Poole responds. Usually your role players play a lot better on your home floor.
All right, they get the primetime spotlight Saturday night on ABC. Jalen, we appreciate the time.
Just like Dallas was looking to hold serve at home, and a significant piece of the puzzle back, Joel Embiid. Of course, he got conked in the noggin in Toronto, wearing that face mask. Got the ligament issue in his thumb, but it's win or we're in big trouble. And Embiid significantly impacting this game with a layup, the Euro step, and another bucket. 7 in the first quarter as the Sixers led in a very low-scoring first quarter, 21-17. Embiid's impact on defense, notable as well. The Heat went 3 of 11 with Joel Embiid as the primary defender in the first half. You don't see this Heat offense struggle like that too often. Eric Spoelstra's look pretty much tells the story. 34 first-half points, and the Sixers had the lead. Max Strus finds Jimmy Butler for the and one. Now the Heat down 3. Butler blows past Danny Green, who had a big shooting night. Speaking of professional shooter, Danny Green, all 3 of these. Next Sixers possession. I beg your pardon. This is the Butler drive from 2 of his 14 in the third. He finished with 33. And then Embiid. Through the contact. That's 3 the hard way. And the Sixers lead by 3. We have not yet showed you Tyrese Maxey. He had a slow start to the game. Didn't score in the first half. There are 2 halves in the game. Maxey. Fearless, smile on his face at all times, an energy that's infectious, and the building starts to catch fire as he does. The lead's now double digits. Then Maxey, the step back with Bam Adebayo in close proximity. Maxey goes for 21 on 7 of 8 and 5 for 5 from 3 in the second half, getting hot at the right time. Embiid. Adebayo, that's high level on high level. Embiid finishes with 18 and 11. Not his biggest night on either statistical category, but man, did it matter. There's another 3 from Danny Green. Green ties a career playoff high with 7 triples, goes for 21, and the Sixers win by 20. Embiid, what this last week's been like?
It was a struggle, really because of the concussion and dealing with a bunch of symptoms. But I'm glad he went away, and I'm glad that I'm back.
We needed him, and he showed up. He delivered. Like I said before, it's not about, him scoring 30 or 40 points. It's about his presence, and his presence alone gives us that energy. His communication, his dominance is very important to this team.
Yeah, I was so happy to see 21 hanging up in the locker room with his mask, whatever. So, I mean, he's a soldier, man. He's a soldier. He's just thumb, mask, concussion, face, broken face, make him look even uglier now. But nah, he's resilient, man. It's the MVP for a reason. Just the attention that he demands is great for us, and he's just a testimony to his will and to his wanting to win.
You add Joe to any team, home or away, that the game, the scout report, it changes drastically. He's been like that for his entire career. But that's not the reason that we lost the game. We didn't get back, turn the ball over, we didn't get stops, we fouled. Like, there was a lot that went into that, but he is a big part of it.
More context on a big win. Joel Embiid, broken face and all. Not his dominant self on offense, perhaps, but the defense in MVP form. And his return held the Heat to 4 of 17 when he was the primary defender. Then Danny Green in his playoffs. Thus far, the high point total was 14. He blew past that, matching his career postseason high with 7 triples, as many threes as the entire Heat squad made in the whole game. And then you had Tyrese Maxey, who finished with 21 after being held scoreless in the first half. The most points by a Sixers player past 30 postseasons when they did not score in the first half. I offer as warm a greeting to J.J. Redick as he got in Philadelphia this evening, where the Sixers fans greeted a former player there with great love. I appreciate the time, J.J. Joel Embiid back, not vintage, and yet just his presence means what to this Sixer team?
Means they're capable of beating the Miami Heat in this series and advancing even further in the playoffs. We're talking about an MVP level player here in Joel Embiid. And I know he didn't have a huge night, but he still had a huge impact, 18 and 11. And more importantly, when he was on the floor, that Philadelphia 76ers defense was great. You look historically in his career, his individual defensive rating, it's like #1 relative to the #1 team defensive rating every single year. Basically, when he's on the floor, you have a chance to have the best defense in the league.
You're not likely to get the same three-point shooting performance from Green and Maxey again in a game, but I want to ask specific to Maxey, because we've seen Danny Green do it, right? I love Maxey's game, and I love his energy. I love the way he just is. What do you see from this young man in terms of his emergence?
I said this on air tonight. I talk about Ja Morant's fearlessness all the time, and that's a lot in reference to him just launching himself towards the basket. But There's a fearlessness that Maxey has. No moment is too big for him. There's a joy that he plays with. He had a slow first half of the game. 0 for 3, and then all of a sudden, he just had this burst. And as good as Joel was at times and James Harden was at times, I thought Tobias Harris had a solid night, and obviously Danny Green shooting. It was Tyrese Maxey's outburst that really created the separation there for the 76ers to win this game.
Man, I remember his first game at Kentucky. He hit a big-time bucket, and he's screaming, I'm like this, I'm like this. And I'm like, all right, settle down, young man. Now give me more of it. I agree. There's a joy that he plays with. And I just want to close with this. I think I heard you say essentially game on, series on. Is that the way you feel after tonight's performance?
I said this before the game. Joel being back in the lineup changes the entire complexity of this series and potentially the Eastern Conference. That's how good Joel is. And I would absolutely say series on here, Scott. Series on.
Right on. JJ, appreciate your time, man. Let's do it again.